Well, let's start with a hostile environment here. Before we get into the details of what's been going down in the Wilson building, let's take a look at the big picture. You endorsed Vincent Gray, you endorsed Kwame Brown, you campaigned for them, you backed them up, and needless to say, the scandals that have hounded them for the first few months in office have made for a rough start. If a constituent of yours approached you today and asked, "Is this what you campaigned for?" what would you tell that person?
I would say absolutely is not. And when I endorsed the mayor, I explained why. I didn't know him 4 years ago when I had my first term, and I didn't know Mr. Fenty either, but working with both of them over the 4 years, over time it became clear to me, my judgment about whom to vote for was that at that time, 4 years later, that it was Mr. Gray.
And Mr. Brown?
The same was true of Mr. Brown. Now, Mr. Brown was on the council, and the question was who was going to become chair. And there were a couple of other names being floated about. And having worked with Kwame Brown, I felt that he was someone who could bring the council together and could bring consensus. And as a result of that, I supported him. I have this hearing on March 28th. What questions do you want answers to?
Well, if I were Mr. Issa or whatever, more importantly, if I were the mayor, I would come to your meeting. I would come. You don't generally invite the mayor to those kinds of things. If I were the mayor and I were not party to the guilty stuff that's occurred, I would be screaming to high heavens. I'd be on the soapbox everywhere. I wouldn't be hiding in a retreat at the convention center.
No, you're characterizing this as a hiding at a retreat at the convention center. He's not hiding.
He hasn't been in office 2 months, and he has to gather his entire staff together for some kind of...
I have questions.
Well, wait, now, this is a man who I understand has reintroduced the idea of a real press conference every week. Is that correct?
No, he hasn't. Sorry, I have to say, what he does is, the mayor, if I may speak for a moment, he has over an hour of introductions and whatever, and then takes a couple of questions. That's not a press conference. That's an orchestrated event. We've had to discuss that with the mayor. But I'm just thinking the mayor ought to be more proactive to fight the image. I think that where the Republicans on the Hill will see that this mayor is trying to right the ship, and then they will stay out of it. And right now, they don't see that. That's what they're telling me.
Questions that I would have specifically, Mary Chase. What is the process by which Suleiman Brown was hired? What is the process by which Suleiman Brown was fired? We have been given no reason yet
for several reasons
for the termination of Suleiman Brown. What did you know, and when did you know that there were members of your staff or your transition team whose children were being placed in positions?
Are you calling Suleiman Brown to your hearing?
Well, for starters, anyway.
Was that right? Will you call Suleiman Brown to your hearing?
You know, I was just talking to my chief of staff today about making up our witness list, and we haven't finalized that.
Oh.